Okay, so we were talking about making that tea, and it's the lemon balm and the St. John's wort, and both are dried, and then added to it, we'll come over here and look at some of the mints, is a spearmint and an orange mint. And while we're here, this is a really nice little lantana. It's called Ham and Eggs. It's a very large grower. It has to be cut back a couple of times or else it will take over the back door. It wants to grow to be about 3 by 3 to 5 by 5, but it's real pretty flowers. That's just a nice pastel pink and yellow. And here's the spearmint. This one is the spearmint, and this one is the orange mint. And I had a little dry out here, so you see some of these leaves have gotten a little bit pale, but these are really delicious if they're dried and put into the tea, and the tea can be served either hot or cold. Putting a little bit of some local honey in it gives it a little sweetness, so it's really a delicious tea. So let's come back over here and look at some of the other herbs that we didn't quite look and finish seeing. This right here is a rosemary, and this rosemary is an upright variety that I keep in a pot and keep it quite trimmed back. They can get very, very lush. They can be used as evergreen foundation plantings, getting to be about 3 by 3. They're wonderfully scented, and they can be dried and added to a number of recipes. They're very good on chicken, and they're great to give a little bit of taste to some potatoes. So they have a nice strong flavor. And then behind that is a culinary sage, and I know that some of the sages are perennial. I'm not sure if this one will be. There's one that has a little bit of a purple cast to its new growth, and that is definitely a perennial. And this one, maybe, maybe not. We'll have to see what kind of a winter we have and whether it makes it through. And something else that's interesting to see here, this is the arugula, and at this time of year it's unusual to see greens. This is one of my favorite greens from the mesclun mixes. It's a little peppery in taste, and it can be used on sandwiches the way you would use lettuce, and gives a lot of bit of flavor. It can be added to salads. I've sometimes put it on pizza as something that's on a vegetarian pizza. It gives a little bit of taste when I'm making homemade pizza. One of the things that I really like about arugula is it does tremendously well in this climate. It grows multiple times a year. I had one here last fall and allowed it to go to seed, and this is what has transpired here. And again, we're at the end of July, and this is what has germinated from last year's seeds. I've saved some seeds indoors in case we have an early frost and some of the plants don't quite make it. But this is a cold season green, as well as one that seems to do pretty well in this climate in the warm season, and that's unusual. So let's head on back. I think we've looked at all of the herbs that are growing right now, and we'll head back through here. Trying to think if there's anything along the route here. We've got some hostas and some hydrangeas, and this is a shadier corridor. This is a sad thing. This is a Harry Lauder's walking stick. Some people know it as a filbert. Its leaves have been decimated by weevils, and you don't hear too much about the insect weevil when people are talking about problems that they're having in their yards. But once a year, usually as the weather turns warm at the very beginning of summer, we have this outbreak in this corridor of weevils because our neighbor has a euonymus plant, and that euonymus plant is a host plant for the weevil. And the weevil comes in, and it starts at the euonymus plant, and then it comes in and it attacks our althea, and it makes its way over to sometimes to the hostas, but this year it seems like the Harry Lauders was the biggest victim. But behind that is a little bit of a nandina that's been gobbled up, and this is a real challenging bug to take care of. We use dormant oils to smother them. You can use broad-spectrum insecticides if that's your preference. You do need to do something to stop them because unchecked, this is what they will do to your plants. We were able to put an end to them here and didn't catch that they had already spread to here before they had done this much damage. So back down the corridor here in our little urban farm, we have some chickens, and we have 7 girls. And we've chosen birds for a couple of selections. First, we were in a situation here where we've got very limited space, and we knew that we would only have a few birds, and we wanted to have as much egg production as possible. And so what we did was we chose varieties that would produce very well. And what they mean when they say that they're good egg producers is that they produce well into the winter. And most chickens, all chickens, when the daylight changes, they're kind of like plants. They go into dormancy. And as the days get shorter, the eggs get sparser. And so hello, Rhea. This is Rhea. When the light time hours are reduced, the birds lay fewer eggs, and you choose varieties that they say are good layers because those are the ones that will continue producing a little more heavily in the winter months. We also knew that we would not be able to have a lot of chickens, and so it was suggested to us that we make sure we choose varieties that lay large eggs, because you wouldn't want a bunch of little tiny eggs from half a dozen chickens. It would take you a long time to create a meal. So all of these girls